Nice to be here today. And I want to thank Paul for that introduction about Gary McFarland, because I'm sure most of you say, like, who is Gary McFarland, right? I never heard of him, but he was a shining star in the 1960s, one of the great up-and-coming composers, arrangers. He also played the vibraphone and did many, many albums, did about 30 albums in a span of 10 years. Went to Berklee School of Music for one semester only. He was pretty much a self-taught guy, then moved to New York and started writing for the Jerry Mulligan Concert Jazz Band in 1960. He went on to work with Bill Evans, Stan Getz, Anita O'Day, Steve Kuhn, and just countless other jazz greats of that period. And unfortunately, he, under tragic circumstances, died in 1971 after a brief 10-year career. And my part of it comes into 10 years later in 1981. I married Gary's widow. So, and I became acquainted with his music. I fell in love with his music, and I've been promoting it ever since. And I finally, all these years later, was able to put together some renditions of his tunes, some of which were popular back in the 60s, and some of which you are hearing for the very first time ever today. And that first tune was called Chuggin', and that was one of the first tunes that he wrote for the Jerry Mulligan Concert Jazz Band. Let me introduce the members of the band. I'm from the Capital Region, as is my bassist, and he's my main man in all my groups, and just one of the great jazz freelance players in the Capital Region and the Northeast, Mr. Mike Lawrence on bass. We brought three amazing musicians up from New York City to play for you today. And first on piano, person who's played with Phil Woods, Freddie Hubbard, Wynton Marsalis. The list goes on for all three of these gentlemen. And he was also the piano player for Tony Bennett as well. The great Bruce Barth on piano. On vibraphone, person who played with Kenny Barron, David Fathead Newman, Jackie McLean, Dave Holland, George Shearing, among many, many others. The great Steve Nelson on vibraphone. On alto saxophone, he's played with so many people. Well, all three of these guys, I went on their websites today to, make a little list, and I just jotted a couple names down, but worked with Joe Henderson, Sarah Vaughan. He started as a young man playing with the great Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra, and I found out recently that he started it on tenor saxophone, which I did not know until recently, and then went on to play with the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra, and is currently the lead alto with the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, one of the greatest alto saxophonists to ever live, Mr. Dick Oates on saxophone.